The pay-per-view or premium live event, if you want to be pedantic, between NXT and TNA gets a name change. It goes from Invasion to Showdown. Now, I have to be honest, I'm not the biggest NXT fan. I don't really watch it, I don't really keep up with it. And TNA, I used to be big into TNA during its golden days, where the star when it was AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, you had the main event Mafia, the whole Kevin Nash's Rio thing where with Sanjay Dutt and Alex Shelley. It was, that was its golden age, even including the Immortal faction and so on. It was still good. But I haven't kept up with it lately. Just sporadically, I would say. Not even that. Let's just say I didn't keep up with it as well. And I don't like the name change. I don't like the name change for one simple reason. This isn't a name change that the two companies agreed, let's just change it because it doesn't sound that good. And it's reminiscent of a time with a bad storyline. It's reminiscent of a bad storyline, and that was the invasion angle with ECW and WCW, or the people from WCW that wanted the WWE contracts and, didn't decide to sit their contracts out, decided to invade the Fed and start this war, and with Heyman and Stephanie and Shane against Vince and Kennedy and McMahon. It was a pretty bad storyline overall. Could have been done better, and it would have been done way better if the WWE didn't get screwed over by not getting big names from WCW. But that's not the reason it changed. No, the reason it changed was because the Prime Minister of Israel decided that it's in bad taste to call a show like that Invasion, and it's on the same date that they had that attack from Hamas some time ago. So that, you see, that's what I don't like. I don't like this whole politics, real world stuff interfering with this. Okay, having a Muslim attack angle right after, 9/11 would have been in bad taste, and I probably would have understand why that happens, but it didn't happen immediately. It's not like, Hamas just attacked and they're doing this invasion thing, which is also a stretch there. Should Ukraine also complain about the invasion stuff? Let's be honest, it's stupid to complain about that. And the solution wasn't to just rename the pay-per-view in Israel, the same way they rename Elimination Chamber to No Escape in Germany, which is also a dumb move, because it implies that the German people and the German government are scared of the word chamber just because it was relevant to their past at some point. That's like, was it an Italian being scared of elephants just because Carthage invaded Rome one time, or beat Rome one time? It's stupid when you think about it properly. It just makes no sense. And it shouldn't have been changed worldwide. It should have just remained Invasion, not Showdown or whatever it's called. Yeah, Showdown, I think. It would have helped the pay-per-view, and especially because NXT has this whole thing where they name their pay-per-views after former events that happened, either in WCW, WWE, so on and so on. It would have helped, and it would have kept the theme to it, but naming it Showdown like it's a bad episode of Dynamite, a special episode of Dynamite in Collision, where nothing ever happens, like Battle for the Belts, it's quite stupid. Very much so. Very much so. And it only happens because one country decides that it gets offended by that, and rather than changing the name just there, they decide that no, it's a problem globally. And it's mind-boggling how a country like Israel, or even Germany for that matter, because I've mentioned them earlier, can complain about an American product. Look, when I watch American wrestling, I want the American wrestling to be unapologetically American. The same way I want the Japanese wrestling to be unapologetically Japanese. The same way I watch Lucha Libre for it to be unapologetically Lucha Libre. I want the country to be represented in that style. I want, the moment I start the internet or whatever and I watch WXW, the German company, I want it to be unapologetically German, because that's why it exists. I don't want it to not be German because Poland's offended by it. Or I don't want, New Japan Pro Wrestling or All Japan Pro Wrestling to be less Japanese because China decided to throw hissy fit, whatever, about it. They should have kept that name and just changed it in Israel. At least Germany has some, points in the fact that it's only changed there and not worldwide. But no, this one had to be specifically changed, and I hate that. And I dislike the argument because the argument is a card that's being used. It's that thing where they know they can win if they say this. It's the same thing when you meet people that always claim to have depression, and they always use it as a card to get out of troubles, to get out of responsibility, to get out of consequences. They always use that card. And this is what that attack from Hamas is. Yes, it was terrible. We all saw the clips. Horrible, horrendous. But you've been bombing them for a long time at this point. I think you're in a good position to not cry about a pay-per-view that happens to be named Invasion. And they cry about, it's in the same day. It's not. It's really not, because the whole event happens in America. It's not like it happens in Europe or Saudi Arabia or Israel itself. You know what? I would have probably seen their point if they decided to do that in Israel. But they're not. They're doing it in America. The time zone difference makes it the 8th by the time the show airs there. And since there's no difference between Israel time and Romanian time from what I know, it happens at 3 o'clock in the morning if you wish. There is no point to make this. But it's a display of power, and that one I can appreciate it from Israel's part and their prime minister. They are exerting power over an American company and getting away with it. Technically 2 companies, it's TKO and whoever owns TNA or whatever. They are exerting power over 2 companies, American companies, and getting away with it. And the companies just decide, yeah, sure, we're going to do this. Now, I say I appreciate this because from a nationalistic standpoint, you want your country to have that power, to have the ability to bend those companies that are trying to make money off of your people. And from the political standpoint, all the respect. But from a wrestling fan standpoint, it's just plainly stupid.